Hello there, my name is Andrea Gahn and I'm a knitwear designer based in Asheville, North Carolina, and you are watching my knitting podcast. It's been over a month now since my last one, so if you're a returning viewer, I have quite a few new things to share with you, and if this is your first time here, welcome, thanks for checking it out. I hope you enjoy hearing me talk about design work I've been working on and a couple other crafting related things. I also, at the very end of this, want to get a little bit into social media, talking about my experience as a creator using social media and get some feedback from you all about what social media platforms you're on and enjoying, because of course a lot of them are just going to shit, but it seems like there's a lot of positive things going on YouTube at least, so I think I'd like to lean more into YouTube in the future, but I'll get into that more at the end, but that's something I really want your feedback about. Okay, so let me get started and dive into the first thing, which is the vest that I'm wearing right now. So first up, I'm going to talk about the design I'm wearing right now, which is South Slope Vest. This is a pattern that came out just 2 weeks ago at the beginning of January, and it is my first vest pattern ever. And it's also the first vest I've knit. Well, this one was the first vest I knit actually, which is my original sample, which I did in pink and red, and then I was very thrilled with how it came out and also enjoyed how fast of a knit it was, so I ended up making this second version that I'm wearing in golden yellow and white. And as you can see, it's a pretty classic vest in terms of its shape and construction, and kind of special thing that's going on are these little micro stripes and 1x1 stripes. And a lot of people are familiar with helical knitting, which is a technique that allows you to work 1x1 stripes without creating a bunch of extra ends to weave in when you change yarn each row. And so that is used in the body that's in the realm, but there's also another technique that I don't know a better name for than just 1x1 stripes worked flat technique, that's used in the top, and that is like a cousin of helical knitting, but instead of having one round in one color and then another round another color, you actually work a row across in one color and then come back and work another row across in the same color. So that means that you end up working 2 right side rows and then followed by 2 wrong side rows, and it's a pretty cool technique. It I felt at least also made the knit kind of a bit more interesting. Just once you get the hang of it, it's not complicated at all, but it kind of felt like switching up a bit, and I really like the result of the little stripes, and the pattern explains exactly how to do both techniques, and then also links to some tutorials, excuse me, not my own tutorials, but existing online tutorials if you're more of a visual learner and want to see an example. And it has shoulder shaping, so the German short rows for the shoulder shaping are the only part that have to be worked as usual flat, and you do have to cut and rejoin yarn each row, but I thought that that was well worth it to just get that little bit of the slope of the shoulders. Results in a much better fit than if there were just 2 flat pieces and you had all 90-degree angles here. So I thought that was well worth the couple extra ends you have to weave in, but compared to the whole vest, that's barely anything. And it's top down, which I know a lot of people love for the ease of being able to adjust the length to your preference as you go, and you get the satisfying feeling of being able to try it on as you go as well. And I did pretty basic choices with the edging, the ribbed edges to match, but one of my testers did I think it was like a bright pink and a bright yellow, and they did some of the edges in the bright pink and some of the bright yellow. So if you want to go for a more fun color scheme, there's extra kind of mix and matching, and you could even incorporate like a whole bunch of different colors. I will link the tester showcase down below. Excuse me, I don't know what is up with my voice. I'm gonna link the tester showcase in the notes. I do a tester showcase for every pattern I release, and it is a part on my website where you can see every tester's pattern or project, and then details of the yarn they use, the size they knit, how much ease they knit it with, and if they made any modifications. And a main point of being able to do that is to show how the design fits on a lot of different bodies and in the different sizes, because I only have my own samples in my size on my body to show. But huge benefit is you can see different color combinations and yarn combinations. There's another tester who did like a fuzzy yarn, I think like alpaca, and then a basic wool yarn, I think. But anyway, they had like different textures in the stripes, so I like simple patterns a lot, like more basic wearable things, but I also love seeing how people kind of have fun with it and make it their own. So anyway, I think that is all I'm going to say about this pattern right now. It is out now and available, so if you are feeling like you want to knit your own vest, whether it's your first vest like me, or whether you knit vests all the time, I thought this was a pretty fun and quick pattern, especially as I I like to imagine we're like wrapping up winter now, but I don't think that's really true. There's a lot of winter left, but with how quick this is, it's be very easy to finish it with plenty of time to still wear it this winter season if you start it now. Okay, I wanted to do also a quick update on the Belmullet knit along, which is happening right now. This is a pattern that I released back in December, and the knit along is now about halfway through. It's 12 weeks total, and we're 6 weeks in now. Last Friday was 6 weeks in, so we're a bit more than halfway. And I just wanted to let you know how the knit along's going and remind people that it's still going on for another over 5 weeks, so there's plenty of time to still join in. So this is a Aran weight cabled sweater that is inspired by really classic Aran sweaters from Ireland. Hopefully you can, I don't know how good the lighting is to see all the different stitch textures, but it's got a honeycomb cable pattern in the center, and then 2 larger cable motifs on the side, and the back matches the front. And then the sleeves have, again, the honeycomb texture and 2 basic cable ropes going on the edge. So I've been wearing this pattern a lot, especially while I work from home and the house is cold. I'll wear actually like this shirt underneath it and stay nice and warm. And it's very cozy, and I'm extremely happy with the fit and how the yarn feels. So I think this is quickly becoming like my second most worn sweater after my front porch pullover I've talked about. This is definitely hands down my most worn sweater. But anyway, so the knit along is still going on, and going into it, I wanted to make sure to have it be as like inclusive and flexible as possible for participants, because I know some people like the, oh, I have this amount of time to knit the design and I want to like challenge myself to get it done, but other people don't enjoy the stress. People have real lives going on that they can't always have knitting something in a certain timeline be a priority for them. So this knit along is not based around finishing it, and none of the prizes are based around finishing it, and all of the prizes are based around participating in the chat and sharing updates. And I think that's been really, really good, because it seems like, I'm sure some people are posting updates because that's what you're supposed to do to get the prizes, but people, so this is all on Slack, on my Slack channel, if I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but people have been really sweet, commenting on each other's posts and being really supportive and being inspired by other people. who are participating. So I feel like that's been a really good structure, and that people are, it seems, able to connect with each other, just seeing the updates and feeling like you're really knitting along with other people who are knitting the same design. So every single week on Friday, one person wins a free Andrew Gahan Knits pattern, a free pattern of mine. And that is just randomly selected from all the people who posted an update over that week. And then I'm having 3 larger prizes the first was awarded on week 4, which was a kit donated by Kelbourne Woolens, who Lucky Tweed by Kelbourne Woolens is the yarn I chose for this design. And then I am going to have a prize on week 6. Yeah, so that's next Friday. And then a prize on week 12, the final day of the knit along, which is going to be, I wrote it down, February 28th, Friday, February 28th. So the 6-week prize is going to be a $50 gift card to Kelbourne Woolens, and the final prize is going to be a $100 gift card to Kelbourne Woolens. And I am buying both of those gift cards myself. I think they're a great yarn company, and they're based in the Philadelphia area, which is where I grew up. So I think that's kind of extra cool. And this base, which a lot of people are using but is not required, is wool that is from Ireland, which is where my family is from, and at least 100% of my dad's side of the family and part of my mom's side of the family are Irish. And yeah, so I just thought that all tied nicely together, and the benefit of gift card prizes is I don't have to ship them, because the winner of the kit was in the UK, and luckily it wasn't too expensive to ship it there, but I was a little bit nervous if someone lived in someplace that was really hard to ship something to, and I don't want to restrict the winners to just the US. So anyway, you can make your own version of this, and you could cast on today, you could cast on several weeks, and the big prizes are awarded in the same way as the smaller prizes, where they're just based on who has participated. And I think what I'm doing actually for the gift cards is just anyone who's participated up from the beginning of the knit along to when that prize is awarded. I originally was going to do like the week 4 prize was selected from people who participated in the first 4 weeks, and then the second prize was people who participated between week 4 and 8. But then I was like, well, the prizes get bigger as you go, and some people have already finished theirs, so I don't want them to be less eligible for the bigger prizes just because they finished early. So anyway, basically, if you start your sweater and post one update, you'll be eligible for both the gift card prizes and the free pattern that week. Of course, I don't want you to I want you to keep sharing updates. But anyway, just try to structure the whole knit along around people actually sharing their progress and enjoying knitting together, and no stress or rush to need to finish something by a certain date unless you personally find that rewarding and enjoyable to do. So next up, I'm going to be talking about a new design that I knit on since last time I was talking to you guys. So I'm pretty sure last time I recorded, I just had a swatch for this design. I may have just cast it on, but since then I have finished it and it is now testing. And this is my Mountain Laurel top. I was debating whether to call it Mountain Laurel Tank or Mountain Laurel Top, but I went with top. And it is sort of a vest shape, a kind of similar shape to this, but it is lighter weight yarn and worked in a cotton, linen, silk, alpaca blend from the Wandering Flock that's called Cotton Lino, and it has eyelets and cables, so it's more of a summery lightweight tank. But some of the testers are working in a wool yarn, so if you just worked this exact same design In a wool yarn, it would be a lot more vest-like. I would probably size up if you were doing that, but just depends on your fit preference. I like my vests a bit looser than I would like a tank. And I will put a picture in because I'm not gonna try this on right now. I think it would look weird over this, and it's way too cold in the house to just be wearing a tank top. So I will put a photo in right here that I took for the test call. This again has short row shoulder shaping, just like the vest. And even though the shoulder is not very wide, that helps give a really good fit in the shoulders. And this one is knit bottom up, and that is so that when you get to the short rows and also the neck shaping and the armhole shaping, that's all done in pattern, and that means that you are just removing stitches from the existing stitch pattern, and that's a lot more intuitive than increasing in pattern, which is what you'd have to do if you started with a smaller amount and increased outwards. And that makes it so every single size doesn't have its own chart showing you exactly how to increase in pattern, because I don't think it's really realistic in a complicated stitch pattern like this to expect people to do it themselves. But Belmullet does have a lot of charts, but I'm trying to shy away from patterns that have individual charts for all the sizes, especially if it needs multiple charts, because I am now having all my patterns, including South Slope, Belmullet, this design. Yeah, everything I've done from Belmullet or later is being graded to both a fit 1 and fit 2 based on a women's sizing chart, traditional women's sizing chart, and traditional men's sizing chart. And my base is already doing 10 sizes, so that means every design I'm doing now is being graded to 20 sizes, and it's really just prohibitively difficult to try to manage charts for 20 separate sizes unless there's a way that the stitch pattern is repeating enough that many sizes can share the same chart. And that's the kind of thing, I guess I could do that if I had like 3 months to write each pattern, but there's no way I could make a living being a knitwear designer if I was taking 3 months per pattern and only released for a year. So just in terms of practicality, I am trying to steer away from that, and that's meant for me is that I am able to do more patterns top down where people can increase, like in a striping pattern that's easy, or like I'll show you the next design that I'm working on right now is knit top down, and it has an eyelet stitch pattern, a basic, really basic lace, but it was easy enough to tell all the sizes how to increase in pattern. And I am tending to do more complex stitch patterns like this, or my willow pullover I released bottom up, and that also just makes it a lot easier to understand how to do shaping and pattern at all. When you've done a whole body, you get really familiar with the stitch pattern, and it's easier to do shaping. So that's kind of my background about my thoughts on that. I'm trying to preferentially do top down whenever I feel like it's reasonable, both because I know that's really popular with knitters, and then also I've found it is really helpful for me, even though I, as a knitter, enjoy them equally. I do like about top-down patterns is I get to knit all the most complicated parts first, and pretty much if I'm gonna run into an issue in a pattern that I've written that needs correcting, it's gonna be in the yoke. So I kind of get to those issues and get to correct them faster. But because if I'm knitting a bottom-up one and get to the end of like the shoulder shaping or something, there's an issue, I tend to have more momentum to fix problems like earlier in the pattern, if that makes sense. So anyway, I know y'all like top down. I'm trying to do as many top down designs as I can, but I also just really like complex stitch patterns, and I feel like I want it to be as good of an experience for myself writing the pattern and the knitter, and that a bottom-up structure lends itself well to working shaping in a complex stitch pattern. So anyways, that pattern is in testing right now, and it is going to come out in April. I picked a date. I didn't write it down on my little notes. Anyway, it's quite a ways away, but it's going to be an early spring release, and the Wandering Flock told me that that is when they'll be restocking this base cotton lino, and I assume this isn't secret. Hopefully it's not secret, but they said they're going to have a bunch of new colors. So I don't know what they are, but I'm looking forward to that, and it'll be exciting to see what color options are available. So I'm going to be timing the release with when they have their spring update of the space with the new colors, and then there'll be some fun options for folks who want to knit their own when it comes out. And I think I was talking about this quite a bit yesterday, but this is definitely a more expensive yarn, and it's like a luxury base, but man, I feel like it's worth it. It is so nice and luxurious. The silk and linen and cotton all together just make this really like beautifully soft and smooth yarn, but the alpaca still gives it a little bit. I have been wanting to work on my yarn descriptor words because sometimes I struggle to articulate what is in my mind, and I know I wish in a podcast I could just say, here, touch it, but when you can't, I want to work on being able to describe it. But it is soft and drapey and beautiful, and it's definitely not necessary to make this pattern in this yarn. Testers are using a lot of different yarns, but I feel like the stitch pattern and the garment kind of take advantage of the really gorgeous properties of this yarn to be a really comfortable to wear design and show off the cable and lace stitch motif really beautifully. So next up, what I want to talk to you about, I'm going to talk to you about the design that I'm currently working on writing and knitting at this moment. So the design I am currently working on is yet another design in Rerum Natura, but this is worked in their Candide base, which is a cotton and I think it's merino wool, a wool and cotton blend, and it's really, really nice. It's sport weight, and this is the stitch pattern I'm using. It's a really, really basic eyelet rows with just 2 rows of staggered eyelets worked, and the fabric it creates is really nice. It feels very like sweatshirty to me, but like a really nice soft sweatshirt. And I have finished the back on this design, and I'm currently working on the front. Let's see here. It's curling up a lot, so it might be kind of hard to show you. Let's see. Okay, so it's hard to imagine I have the whole back done, but it's really curling up. But so as I said, this is top down. It's going to be a drop shoulder sweater, and it just has that same stitch pattern worked all over. There's short rows worked in pattern in the back to again give shoulder shaping for a really nice fit. And this is going to be a quite relaxed, oversized sweater, and my intent and kind of original idea for this sweater is something that'll be really great to use as like a cover-up type of piece, going swimming at like around here. I like to go swimming at waterfalls, but also like if you're doing a beach day. And I especially after swimming get really cold, like from being wet, and I always like having like something long sleeve to pull on, but something that's not really heavy. And I wanted to make sure that it's not something like so beach cover-up-y that it wouldn't be seeming like something you'd wear every day in your regular wardrobe rotation. So I just want it to be like a regular lace sweater as well, but I'm hoping to take my photos at a local waterfall called High Falls, which is what I have named it. I've named it the High Falls Pullover, and it's going to have a ribbed collar like usual and a full-length body and relaxed sleeves. It's going to have quite a similar fit actually to my front porch pullover if you've seen or worked that pattern, but with the all over eyelet stitch, and I'm very happy with it. I'm always excited to wear my knits, but this one in particular, as I'm knitting it, I'm just like, I want to wear this. The fabric feels really nice and cozy, like I said. And I think it'll be a really great layering piece in the like early spring when it's cold, and then a great something to carry around like in the summer, especially here in the mountains. It will be plenty nice for wearing shorts and a tank during the day, but then cool down in the evening. I feel like it'd be great for carrying around and throwing on when it cools down in the evening during the summer. So I always am very practical about thinking when would I want to be wearing a design, but I've been trying to even more lean into that and think about like how the design relates to the practicality. So for example, for this one, it's sport weight and has the eyelets and the cotton blend. I feel like all those things go together for being a warmer season kind of transitional, or for layering during the warm season. And basically it's in opposition to something like a heavier sweater that has eyelets in it, that it can be really cute, but the time when you're using a really heavy sweater is probably not when you want to be having something with eyelets that has little holes in it that the air can flow through. So that's probably no-brainer to some people, but I think a lot of times they're just things that are kind of mismatches like that. Even my willow pullover I release has eyelets. It's a DK weight pattern, so it's not like extremely heavy. But even with that, I would definitely always want to wear something long sleeve under it for the practicality of when I'd wear it, to make the most sense, because it's kind of too heavy that I would wear it as like a layering piece in the summer or anything. So anyway, I'm very thrilled with this. It's knitting up very quickly, especially for sport weight. I feel like I tend to think of sport weight sweaters as something that takes like a bit longer to knit. But I think especially the eyelet rows like keep it interesting, and they're extra wide. Like you work the 4 eyelet rows and you're like, whoa, it grew a lot. So that test call for that pattern will probably be coming out in a couple weeks, around early February, first week of February. So if that is something you might be interested in test knitting, make sure you sign up for my newsletter. That's going to be linked in the description. That is the best way to hear about my test knits and make sure you never miss one. And let me see if there's anything else I wrote down that I want to talk about this. Oh, if you have been watching my podcast for a while, you might recognize this yarn and color and eyelet sweater, because I actually wrote an entire pattern and knit like 3/4 of it last winter, and it was a different eyelet motif, and I did a different form of shoulder shaping, and I changed it a bunch. I was getting sick of it. I was over it. I was also working a cropped version, and I was just super over it and put it on pause. And I've done that some other times, and I just have had them sit around kind of indefinitely, and I'm like, I think there was something just off with the yarn or the color that I didn't like. But with this one, I love the yarn, I love the color, so I unraveled that whole sweater, started from scratch on a new pattern. This one is really pretty similar to that one, except for the yoke shaping is done differently, and I used a different eyelet pattern, and it's going to be full length instead of cropped. So it has a lot of similarities to the pattern I frogged, but having the year in between, I had a lot more clarity about what I would want from it, and I kind of got some distance from that to be really excited about the yarn and the idea. So I think last winter I was going to call it Lakeside, and I had the same idea of it being a kind of cover-up type piece. And then I was going to try to do the photos at a lake, but my favorite place really to go around, I haven't actually gone swimming in any lakes around here because a lot of them are not great water for swimming, and some of the ones that are better water for swimming you have to pay to go to, so I changed it to be waterfall themed name. Okay, next up I'm going to talk about a design that I've just started working on, but should be a pretty quick one. So I kind of realized that although I've knit a lot of hats, I've only ever released one hat pattern, which is my essential beanie. If you've followed me a bit, you've probably heard about it because I've knit a lot of versions. I've talked about it a lot. It's just a basic 2x2 rib beanie, but the instructions include how to work 6 different yarn weights so that it can be versatile and be used with pretty much any skein that you might have in your collection or any yarn you're interested in trying out. But I am very interested in knitting more different hats besides just knitting that one over and over. But I kind of hadn't been excited about any idea for a hat because I do like kind of more plain and classic hats a lot, but I feel like most plain and classic hats, they've been done and it wouldn't be something worth writing a pattern for. But especially with a lot of my designs and projects taking a long time, I was thinking about a really good thing about a hat is it's something I enjoy knitting and get a lot of use out of, but can be done pretty quickly. So I kind of came up with this idea as what is a hat I would really love that could be knit up quite quickly without just being, basically I've seen a lot of hats that are like that kind of idea, like knit them super fast, but then they kind of have more of the look of something that's knit super fast. Like they don't really have as much details, or they're so chunky looking that I just personally don't love the look of it. So what I've done is I've used an Aran weight base from, again, Rerum Natura, and this is their Sirène base. It is, I think, the exact same wool as Gilliatt. But in Aran weight. So again, it's a woolen spun, and I'm using this gorgeous color green, and it's a nice and thick yarn, but again, it's woolen spun, so that means that it's not super, like, it's quite lightweight for how much, how thick it is and the amount of yardage you get. So I'm just making a quite basic cabled beanie, but I swatched actually a lot of different ideas that I wanted a good balance of like really chunky cables and a more fine cable. So I just have this really basic motif of a wide chunky cable with then a thin, just 2-stitch cable separating them. And I wanted to keep it so that the motif is really easy to memorize. You do one repeat and then you're like, I got it. I don't need to look at the chart. So it's just going to be basic ribbed edge with folded over flap, this pattern, crown shaping, and then I'm going to do a big pom-pom on top. And I'm going to record how long it takes me to knit. And my plan is to call it Speedy Beanie, which I feel like it's a little silly, but I like it. A little rhyming, and I think I have to see how long it takes and make sure that's actually as speedy as I hope. But the idea is, as I said, to end up with something that I would be really thrilled to wear and really love, and not just be like, I made this because it was fast, but I don't actually love the result that much. And Another important aspect is that it will be really nice and warm. This winter has been quite cold, especially the past few weeks. And I love my worsted weight essential beanie that I wear all the time. I'm definitely like, I could be wearing an even warmer hat. So with the folded brim and the thickness of the cables, it'll be extra warm and snuggly and practical and just something fun to knit on. So I am trying to see if I can get this to be released in February, which is a quite quick turnaround. It is the last week of January already, but I think I'm just gonna have like a 2-week test knit because it's so fast. I know that wouldn't allow people time to order this yarn and have it shipped to them from France, but I'm gonna make a list of other Aran weight yarns that be a good match. And part of the point is that it's fast to knit, so I tend to have really long test knits, but I want to have a quicker turnaround with this, particularly because I don't currently have any releases planned for February. My kind of usual schedule got a little bit like thrown off because of the design I was talking about last time that I worked, Wildflower Pullover, which is a fingering weight colorwork sweater, and that took a long time to knit. And then the test is very long, so that is my next planned release, and it's not until March. So part of my motivation too with this is like, oh, I want to squeeze something in so I can have some kind of release in February. But then, like I said, I'm not just doing it for that because I really have been wanting to do hats, but sweaters and other garments have just kind of taken precedent for me over doing hats or more other accessories, and hats are definitely the accessory that I wear the most. I wear a hat like every single day of the winter, so like, okay, I can probably spend time designing more than one hat pattern if this is something I enjoy knitting and enjoy wearing. So I hope people like this one. We'll see how it goes. And hopefully I might even have 2 ready next time I have a podcast, because I did order yarn for a second one as well, to show off the cables in a light color too. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick update for you on something not knitting related that I've been working on. So, as you might have gathered by now, I spend a lot of time knitting, and I am thrilled to be able to do that. I am now doing knitwear design full-time, which is so amazing, and I am so grateful to get to spend as much time knitting as I do as a result, and I like the design parts, but I do spend so much time knitting that I haven't really made the time for myself to do any other kind of craft. I've been really interested in sewing, but I feel like sewing with making garments, it feels very related, and that when I have been working on sewing projects, I haven't felt as much like it's a relaxing hobby. But I wanted to try a totally new to me craft. So for Christmas, I got myself a little punch needle kit, and if you haven't heard of it before, punch needle is a form of embroidery that makes these little tufted embroidered bits that's like a rug. I think you can use punch needle to do a rug. These are going to be little coasters. Eek! And so the kit just tells you exactly what to do to make a set of coasters. So far I've made 2. There's enough yarn to make 3. So once I've done all of the punch needle parts, there's a felt backing that gets added, and then this gets cut away and folded over, so it'll be a circle coaster without any of that fabric showing. I don't know if they're going to be washable, so I'm like, I don't know how practical they really are as a coaster, if they're going to be glued. I don't know if I can wash them, but we'll see. I'm interested in doing other punch needle projects as well, so all you do is just draw whatever shapes you want to do. It came with a template for this really, really basic little daisy pattern. And then there's this tool, the punch needle, that is used to stab the fabric, and you thread the yarn through this, and then every time you stab it, you actually work from this side, and it stabs a little loop through each time. So you just make a million little stitches, and each of those little stitches results in a little loop on the finished side. And depending on how close together it is, it's how dense this resulting rug loopy fabric is. And it's been really, really fun to work on. It is a much more free-form kind of craft than knitting, and once you're going with your punching, it's just a very you don't have to think a lot about it. Something I definitely need to figure out if I'm spending more time doing it is what an ergonomic position to be doing it in, because I'm kind of like on the couch, and I'm like, I'm gonna mess up my shoulder or something being hunched in a weird little position so I can see it clearly. So I gotta look into that. But I've seen people do wall hangings or pillows or side of a piece of fabric that's made into a bag or patches or all kinds of different things. So I'm excited to be doing that. I love crafting and fiber arts, and I wanted to prioritize fitting some time in for myself to just explore and play around with other forms of crafting besides just knitting, because as much as I do love knitting, it's now also my job, so there can be a lot more like, I have to do this, I have to finish it, and I try to take on a reasonable schedule where that doesn't get too intense, but I feel like I needed something separate that was like, this is just for pleasure, I'm not trying to monetize it, the world does not need to have a cute little flower coaster in it. I'm literally just doing it for fun and my own creative outlet and enjoyment. So I've been really enjoying that, and I just got the kit on Etsy, but now that I've done the kit, or once I've finished the whole kit, like I said, there are 4 coasters. I'm looking forward to coming up with my own designs, and I like that you can just draw out whatever, and I do have a lot of yarn that will be very suitable for this. I have to look into it. The yarn it came with is a acrylic cotton blend. I have a lot of sport weight cotton yarn that I think would be really perfect for this, that I got like quite a while back and haven't used. So I'm looking around and playing with that. I'll have to see if I start doing more of it, how much I'll include that as a regular update in my podcast, because I do want it to be a knitting podcast. But let me know if that's something you're interested in. Have you tried punch needle? I've done like regular embroidery before, but it kind of seemed more, there's a lot to learn. There's so many different embroidery stitches and a lot going on and a lot of decisions. I kind of like the simplicity of punch needle. It's just like you come up with your design and then you just fill the space. Although it's probably a simplification. I'm sure there's different complexities you can do to have it look different ways, but I like that there's just the one stitch, and I really, really like the effect of how it looks. Okay. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And last of all, I want to ask for your all thoughts and feedback on something that is a big part of my business, and that is social media. Okay, so I generally try to not be like using my platforms to be complaining about getting to do knitwear design as my job, because it's so amazing that I get to do that. But this is gonna include a bit of complaining, I guess, so I apologize for that. But basically, in order to be able to do something like knitwear design as a job, it involves me also doing marketing and social media as part of my job, and I feel like there's definitely a way that can be positive, because I like sharing what I'm working on with people, and I like getting to see on social media what other people are making and hearing other people's thoughts, getting exposed to people and ideas that I might not in real life. So there are tons of positives about that, but as you all know, in the world, there are a lot of issues with social media, and it involves me being on the platforms and being like, I'm supporting this platform existing, I'm consuming a shit ton of ads from this platform, just trying to scroll, I'm helping them sell ads by making content on it, and the platform that I have spent the most energy in and have the largest platform in is Instagram, which is, if you are on Instagram, you, I'm sure know, undergoing even more changes this past week, but over the 5 years I've been on it, there have already been a lot of changes, and I was 5 years ago was already being a latecomer to Instagram. I only made Instagram for my business. I think I maybe made a personal Instagram for like a week and then was like, nah. And when I started making social media for my business, I had no social media of my own. I had a Facebook in high school that I deleted sometime when I was in college. I've never had my own TikTok. I never had Twitter. I made that Instagram for like a week. I've been in my personal life trying to be like, this isn't something this is not the spaces I want to be spending my time and energy in. There's so much like toxicity and being advertised to and being disconnected from the world around you. But anyway, I really appreciate about social media that as someone who is trying to be a creative, an artist with a small business, that it's a way that I can get my work out there, and that is huge. I really appreciate Ravelry. I guess I wouldn't really count Ravelry as like a social media, but if I didn't have those platforms, like it basically couldn't exist that there would be so many independent knitwear designers. There previously were people who were knitwear designers, but you would be publishing in magazines or trying to publish books, and there's just a lot more barrier to entry with those kinds of things, and social media allows someone like me to just create work, and then the platforms will help find the people who are interested in that and show the content to them. And there's a lot of ways that you can make content and then have people share it with other people who they know would like it. So there's lots of advantages, but Instagram has been for a while showing people less of the people they follow and more of whatever they think they have some motive to show to you or think will keep you on the app longer, which tends to be a lot of like controversial or things that get people riled up or mad or upset. So like if I scroll on my feed, it's maybe 1/3 people I follow, 1/3 ads, and 1/3 content. Instagram is just showing me that I may have indicated to the algorithm that I like to see because maybe I've sent it to someone or I've clicked on it because I was like, what's going on? But it's not what I intended to go on the platform to see, which is other creators, other knitters. So I don't really like being on Instagram consuming it, but I want to be able to do that because I don't want to be, oh, I'm making content, but I'm not participating in the social part of it, like where I'm actually seeing what other people are doing and commenting and getting to experience that. But so I know a lot of people have been going from Instagram to Blue Sky, but I've been very hesitant to do that because I already have now, oh, I'm getting low battery, which is good because I couldn't rant about this too long. I already have now a TikTok, an Instagram, an email list, and a YouTube. And all of those are in addition to my actual, what I view as my actual work of making knitting patterns. So I'm just really hesitant. I have a Pinterest, but I've basically given up on trying to use that because it doesn't seem very effective. I'm like, I don't want to add a 5th thing on that I need to be like creating content for. But I also don't want to be like, I'm sticking with Instagram just because it's what I've been doing, so I'm sticking with it. But I've been thinking more about trying to make YouTube more of a main hub for where I'm more regularly putting out content, and or having my email newsletter be more of a central thing I am putting content on. And the whole reason I'm starting to get into this is because I want to ask you all, I know you're biased because you're watching this on YouTube, but maybe you got here through me sharing it on Instagram, or you are following me here because you're on my newsletter or just where you like to see other content creators. But I want to ask, where do you like actually hearing about what knitting patterns are coming out, following creators? What kind of like, do you like educational content, informational content? Are you happy to just be like, I like a designer and I like just getting an email, they've released out and that's enough for me? That would be nice, but also I need to make other types of content to kind of get exposed to new people. Are you on Blue Sky? Do you like it there? Should I go there? I think I'm going to, but should I cut out some other forms? But anyway, I just have all these thoughts bouncing around in my head and kind of stressing me out. And I feel like I just want to hear from actual people that are clearly interested enough in consuming knitting content to sit through this whole podcast. So please let me know, where do you enjoy being? Where do you feel like you're able to get the best experience of sharing your own content or getting content from other creators in the knitting, crafting, art space? And are you on Blue Sky? Should I do it? Okay, so that's pretty open-ended question, but please take just a second to let me know your thoughts on that, because I feel like I need some actual real life feedback from other humans about what they're thinking about all this. And yeah, but I'll keep at least doing my every once in a while podcast here. We'll see if I try to evolve this into something else or do more. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit and listen to me chat about all this. I hope you're interested in some of these designs that have come out and the ones that are scheduled for this spring. And I will be back in the next couple weeks to share some more updates with you. Bye.